Welcome to HBO Lax. This is Lizzie Pace.
And I'm Catherine Dudas.
We are the two foremost television and pop culture experts in the world, probably the galaxy. And we are obsessed with all things HBO, especially all things Game of Thrones, especially House of the Dragon now.
Yes.
We keep calling it Game of Thrones, but it is HOTD, House of the Dragon.
Yes, I will say our first critique is the name is not as easy to say as Game of Thrones, but maybe that's just recency bias. Maybe we'll get used to it. But I also keep saying House of Dragon. It's not House of Dragon, it's House of the Dragon.
Okay, do you like the term Hot D better? And should that have been the name of our podcast?
Oh, shit. That should have been. Yes, it should have been. Oh, my God. Though I will say I'm glad because it's not the name of our podcast. I don't have to have a conversation with my Catholic mother about it. So that does save me at least a conversation. But I do like that. So
I mean, it's
not too late.
I was discussing our show with a friend last night, and she's like, "Oh, you're recapping Hot D," and I was like, "I love that." This is our second episode. If you haven't listened to our first, we did Hot D Season 1, Episode 3 last week. You can check that out wherever you get podcasts. And we have a new YouTube channel, so you can also watch our gorgeous, gorgeous faces recap this beautiful document.
Yes.
However,
go check it out.
Before we get into the document, I would like to issue our first official HBO Lax correction. As all our Laxers know, we always try to point out the hot characters and the horniest moments. And I learned from TikTok that we missed one in the last episode.
Oh my God, who?
When Rhaenyra comes back all bloody from the boar incident, she walks past all the King's dudes. You remember that? Covered in blood. And there's one who smiles at her, basically being like, "What up, Harwin?" We see him in this episode too. So it wasn't as horny as the Kriston moment saying he owes everything to Rhaenyra, but I promise to do better.
I promise too. I am so sorry. That will not happen again. I promise all of you Laxers. That is disgusting of us. Yes, no, all apologies.
So embarrassing.
That is really embarrassing. And we will be better. But yeah, I mean, let's get into this horny ass hot D episode. Many Ds.
This episode was amazing.
It was really good.
I know I said really that last week, but this one was like,
I like it.
Wow.
I liked it better. We open on Rhaenyra's fiddling with a necklace. We have lots of jewelry, Easter eggs. I don't know. Maybe I wasn't paying attention, but what is the necklace? Is that?
So I only remembered this because they showed it in the promo from last episode, but that is the necklace that Daemon gave Rhaenyra in like the first episode.
Oh, duh. Okay, good. If I had clocked that, I would be like, well, now we know what this episode is. Okay, great. Love that. So she's fiddling with the necklace like she's going to fiddle later. We start with Rhaenyra taking some interviewees for her suitor, her potential baby daddy. She makes a really savage old man joke, which I really liked. And then a kid.
She's turned this into a roast battle. She's just like,
immediately.
How hot was my great grandma?
I know. I was like, okay, yeah, this feels right. She's in command, man. She's like really, a kid comes up. I wrote, "Aw, he's cute" in my notes, and he's a little cute little boy, little English boy who, made a solid case. I was like, obviously, we don't condone marrying someone much younger than you, but I thought he made a way better case than the old man. And yeah,
he does. He's like, I have old blood. You're gonna have easy days and safe nights with my old blood.
I have been waiting for a man to say that to me. You're gonna have easy days, safe nights. I love that. That's very romantic. Yeah, she's freaking Rhaenyra's is owning all the fucking power here. Really, honestly, she's giving Daenerys vibes later in the first season. Second season Daenerys vibes is Rhaenyra's literally right off the bat, which I think is like a cool thing that that's why I like that this show is doing. They're like, no, we've already seen that arc, so now we're starting with pure badass.
This reminded me, she's like, next. And I was like, this is like that MTV show.
It is.
Dating, where you just say next when you're done with the date.
I know. I love that. Oh, I love that.
There's this guy who's in a long yellow gown who is also roasting people like Rhaenyra. He's like, how does she need protection? She's got a dragon. Calls the child Craven, and then the child suitor draws his sword on him. And Rhaenyra tells Kriston, she's like, let's go, ready the ship. He's like, we're supposed to be in Bitterbridge in 3 days. We see that a fight has broken out behind them, and the child suitor slays the roaster gentleman.
And then we don't hear about it again.
Look.
And she's also like, a couple things. She's not phased. She's just like, yeah, whatever. Like, which I do like. I like that she's like, yeah, she's grown up in this. She's literally watches jousting tournaments where she's supposed to watch people getting stabbed to death. Christo, she knows people. She's seen many stabbings. This did feel like a very old school Game of Thrones moment. I will say, of just like a casual surprise killing, and then we just move on.
Casual violence. And for me, this child suitor slaying this yellow gowned man was my goriest moment of the week.
This cute little, adorable little cute boy stabbing the internal organs of a man much bigger than him was also my goriest moment of the week.
Not a lot of violence, now that you think back.
It wasn't
on this episode.
No, more horniest, much more horniest. Which you know what, I'll take. I'm a lover, not a fighter, so I'll take it.
This was definitely the horniest episode all season.
Yeah, it
by
was.
far.
By far.
They get on the boat. They're an hour out, and everyone ducks for cover as suddenly a dragon flies down. Rhaenyra hits her head. Kriston's like, "Are you okay?" And he clutches her arm.
Foreshadowing. Yes, and then we get to the king putting on his little crown. His little crown. I'm like being so condescending to him. He's in his chambers.
That's royalty, baby.
That's royalty, baby. A bunch of people are coming into the room. Daemon, hot Daemon with his cute little crown. We got two men with 2 different crowns walking into the room. The tension is building up.
And Daemon cut his hair. Yeah. It was a good idea.
My God. Lizzie, thank you so much for saying that. I was wondering why he was way more attractive in this episode. I was like, what? I can't put my finger on it. Yes, he looks so good. He looks like he was in Doctor Who, which is what I know him from. King is like, what the fuck are you doing? You're literally wearing a crown, and my whole thing is that I have the crown.
That's my whole deal.
That's my whole thing, and like, you have it. And then Daemon is like, oh, he's humility and all this stuff, and then this big dramatic, there's music, playing of like, oh my gosh, what's gonna happen? And then it's a very sweet, like, king. Oh, well, first Daemon is like, I won, bitch. And then the king is like, good job. And they like hug, and it's nice. I think it was nice.
Because Daemon gives him his crown, his stepstones, and this like hammer thing, and says, hammer sword, and says you can add it to your throne.
Also, the first time I ever really thought about like, oh, right, that's how the throne became full of swords. That I'm assuming it was people coming back from war with their swords. Duh.
I never thought about that either.
Idea. Yeah, I was like, oh, that's how it came about, I guess.
Look,
yeah.
Did Catherine and I read the books? No,
we are still the biggest
if that's
fans.
Not clear. We are obsessed. I tried to read the first book. So many names. I couldn't.
It's a lot of names. I think I need to go back and do it.
Does, though. Viserys is like, Daemon, where's Corlys? And he's like, oh, he went home. And he's like, okay, so who's watching the Stepstones? And he says, the tides and the dead bodies, I was like, that does not seem like a good way to protect your area.
Yeah, no, that felt like a mistake, but we'll see. Maybe I'll trust him. His haircut's cute. I'll trust him.
We cut to outside. There is a very nice spread, and Rhaenyra is eating from it. And Viserys and Daemon are debating who was their mom's favorite. Oh, just bros being bros. With Alicent, and Rhaenyra joins. Viserys says, our mom didn't like custom, and I wasn't a good warrior. And Rhaenyra congratulates Daemon. Congrats on kicking ass. Alicent says, do you want a tour of the new tapestries? And Viserys and Daemon laugh, and Viserys says he hates that shit. And Rhaenyra's like, I'd like to see them. Viserys is like, more wine. Always his solution.
I know. I do realize that is. I felt sad about that, the tapestry thing. I was like, oh, I just want to look at the tapestries. That was a dick moment. If we have a dick, that was my dickiest moment of the week, I will say. I was like, we just saw a man get stabbed, and I was like, hey, like they're laughing about the tapestries.
This felt meaner.
It felt way meaner. Rhaenyra and Alicent have a cute little scene together. Well, it starts off, Alicent is saying, oh, it's so romantic. You have these suitors. And Rhaenyra is like, LOL, that's stupid. I don't want that life. Like having, what kind of life is that? Being imprisoned, having heirs. And Alicent makes a face like, that is me. Rhaenyra is kind of remorseful, which is nice. I like when we're seeing these moments of her, but she's cunning, and I'm still not sure what I think about Miss Rhaenyra. And then we have Rhaenyra and Daemon. And they're the only ones who talk in high.
Daemon is sunning himself at a nice red tree, and she's like, why are you back? It's not just to taunt your older brother. You were so content in the Dragonstone. She's like, why did you come back? And he smiles and touches her necklace. Ooh, did he come back because he loves Rhaenyra? Did he? She's like, what do you want? He says, the comforts of home. And he goes over to check out the spread. She's like, I didn't think you were comfortable in your home. But you seem changed by your adventures. Maybe more mature. And he's like, you've matured in 4 years.
I should have known
Dad
then.
wants to...
I should have known then what was going to happen in the episode, honestly. I don't know why. Looking back, you're saying all this. I'm like, oh, duh.
I did not think they were going to hook up this early.
I didn't either. I didn't either. Yeah, spoiler alert.
But she's like, oh, my dad wants to sell me to the guy with the biggest castle. I'm like, okay, we get it. We're hearing a lot that she's, being forced. And he's like, there's worse things to be sold for. And he says, marriage is political, but once you're married, you can do as you like. And this is a theme that we see throughout the episode, that marriage and love, lust are very different paths. Rhaenyra says for men, marriage might be political, but for women, it is like a death sentence because her mom died birthing that heir. He says if it were, I would have gotten rid of my bronze bitch ages ago. He really hates his wife.
I
can't wait to meet her.
I was going to say, I think Daemon mentioning his wife in this episode made me think this was the Easter egg moment. Or a Easter egg moment of the week, just because he keeps mentioning her, and I think she's going to play like a really big part in the finale of this season, is my prediction. I think his wife is going to somehow become really important because he keeps talking about how much she sucks, and I think that would be really that feels like a George R. R. Martin thing to do, to be like, now she's really important. Seems kind of feminist. George R. R. Martin likes being subtly feminist in these ways, and I think she's going to maybe have her revenge, but that's my predict.
We got a Dudas prediction. A prediction.
Prediction.
I mean, when do you think the king is going to die?
I'm going to say not next episode, but I'm going to say episode 6.
Okay.
What is there, 8 episodes?
Say there's 10.
Oh, 10.
I'm going to say it's later.
Okay.
We'll see.
Well, let's shake.
We'll see. Okay, what are we gonna bet?
Okay, we're gonna bet someone has to get a House of the Dragon tattoo. That's too high stakes.
Disagree.
Do you know that New Girl bit?
More like lower stakes, kind of like like a shot.
Yeah. Okay, that's better. I'm like Winston in New Girl, where he goes too far or either too small.
Yes, I do
pranks.
like that. Okay.
Okay,
How about
next.
the loser has to do a shot in the episode that he dies when we're recording it?
Love that. Love that. That's amazing.
Okay.
Fuck yeah.
I mean, if I've learned anything, people who like sports, gambling on it gets them more emotionally invested. I'm already emotionally invested, but I want to be even more. I want to just go in.
These sports people are doing it right. Yes, I've always said that. While ignoring sports.
They've definitely figured something out. I'm not going to investigate further.
Gonna still ignore it.
We have Rhaenyra brings up her dead mom. She's like, the heirs killed her. I'm not going to do the same. Damon's like, it was a tragedy. This is a tragic world, but don't live in fear or you won't get the best parts of life. I mean, looking back, it feels a little groomy.
Yes, I will say this is very groomy.
She's 17?
Yeah. I will say she looks younger. She looks young. This whole episode, I feel she just looks very young to me. So it did take me out of some of the hornier moments because I think probably because they started and she was like way younger.
Right. We didn't really live through the time jump.
No,
they keep trying to be like, there was a time jump, remember?
Yeah, even though no one really looks different. Damon cut his hair.
There is no difference in their appearance. But believe me, she's more of an older minor now.
She's an older minor. You can enjoy her having sex now. It's like, I don't know.
Can I? Next scene, we are in the King's Council, and Rhaenyra, she's now at the table. She's no longer serving wine, so she has been promoted. Someone is like, hey, weren't we supposed to be adding the stepstones to the realm? I feel like we've actually traded a crab feeder for a sea snake. And this is obviously because you picked Alicent over Lady Laena. Now the sea snake is pissed. Viserys is like, 3 exact years have passed since I didn't marry that child. He can't still be mad.
Again, a reminder. Time has passed.
They're like, can we salve the wound? And the Hand is like, my brother sent this disturbing word from Old Town that Corlys is in a meeting with the Sea Lord of Braavos. I don't think we have met this Sea Lord, but he sounds like a big deal. And that he is planning on marrying his daughter Elena to the Sea Lord's son. And if House Valerian aligns with the Free Cities, I guess the Free Cities is the Braavos person, we would need our own marriage pact. And
everyone
like,
and we all awkwardly look at Rhaenyra.
I should have just married.
And we're like,
child.
I wonder exactly. I know. Everyone in the room is like, I wonder who could engage in a marriage pact.
Yeah, there's got to be someone around that. It would be funny if Rhaenyra is like doing that that hot dog dude sketch from I Think You Should Leave. Like, we're all looking for the person who should be getting married. Otto, are you gonna do it?
It would be fun. If she just acted totally oblivious to the fact that, honestly, that's a better tactic for her. Instead of being mad, she should be like, what are you talking about? I don't need to marry someone. That's not a thing. So she goes into her chambers, into her bedroom. This was an interesting, how long, or the slow, her walking in her bedroom, taking off her earrings. We're seeing, this piqued my interest because I was like, we don't usually, I don't know, it was a long time in this space. It felt like this scene. And then
we see her
obviously
whole night routine.
Yes, I was like, she does her skincare. And she finds a bag. That honestly looks like a bag you could find at Urban Outfitters that I would buy.
It did look like
duffel
a very
bag.
modern bag, like a gym bag.
She pulls out her Nike duffel bag, and all these boy clothes fall out. And she finds a scroll. And I'm sorry, this is like the best escape room ever.
The
And
bag is her like Starbucks cup moment.
It
Do you remember
is.
that when they left that
do.
Starbucks cup in the shot?
It's burned into my brain because now I'm like, God, I can see myself also making that dumb mistake. I can't.
100%.
Like, what if I'm like, I would just leave? So she opens the treasure map and then finds a secret passageway in her room, I guess that she didn't know was there before.
She's had this bedroom how long? I was
She's
like,
definitely grown up in this
I
bedroom.
was like, what does this letter say? It's written in crazy, whatever, Targaryen words. And I was like, it probably says, there's a secret room passageway in your bedroom, you dumb, uninquisitive bitch. Have you ever even
so
like
funny.
walked around the whole thing or put like good light in there?
Yes, the good light, definitely. And just pressed your arm, your hands. That's so funny. So yes, she dresses like, she goes down this secret passageway. She dressed like a boy. She's looking like a cute little hipster, person in Brooklyn. She is walking up a corridor, and we see Damon looking like, I don't know, out of a Harry Potter. I feel like we're in Harry Potter in this scene. I just wrote he looks like Voldemort.
He's in a
with
black
his, like,
hoodie.
hood. He's like, oh, it is like a hoodie. Honestly, yeah. I thought it was like a cape at first, but it is like a hoodie. I wrote a Harry Potter cloak, but
I feel
yeah.
like
So
he is much better disguised than her.
agreed. He actually is covering his face.
Covering his face.
Again, she has the parallels to Aladdin in this show is just multiple.
I knew
They
you were gonna
literally
freak out.
say,
I was
yes.
like, this is so Princess Jasmine.
It's
Catherine's
Princess
gonna lose her
Jasmine.
shit.
I did. I did. I wrote, I was like, this is Princess. Honestly, he even calls her a street rat later on, which is
Yes.
literally what they call Aladdin. So someone
like
was
that's a
watching
reference
Aladdin.
to Aladdin, right?
It has to be. I think then I'm like, okay, they're fucking with me, or like it has to be. But he gives her something to drink. They're seeing there's fire. Like, look, the real world. People are on tight ropes in the street, and there's fire.
There's this creepy man, mustachioed man who does these fire hands at her. That's very Burning
don't
Man
like
as
that.
well. A lot of ladders. And there's people fucking in alleyways here.
Yeah.
And Rhaenyra's like,
Yeah.
huh.
Interesting.
She's only seen,
What's that?
I guess,
I don't know what she's seen.
Dragons.
This okay. So dragons. Dragons.
Dragons.
No, so Lizzie, this is my question, and this we'll get into this, but I'm like, is this the first time she's seeing? I wonder what is she seeing sex? Because I wonder, like, what has she ever seen it? Because no Pornhub.
I assume so.
Yeah, exactly. So
I have a
yes,
question.
Yeah.
And if this is too personal, feel free
No,
to
please.
disregard. How old were you when you first saw porn?
When I first saw porn, I was honestly old. I was like, I think I was already having sex and was like looking up
That's crazy to me.
exploratory things. I think so, yeah. How old are you?
Look, unlike Rhaenyra, I was a very curious youth, and I like looked this shit up like on our home computer in Connecticut. I was a child.
Oh, no, but that is more normal. I honestly I just had a lot of shame instilled in me growing up. But I did, I remember when people were playing The Sims and they would make them go in bed together, couldn't even hear about that. I was like, that sounds very dirty.
You made them woohoo. Look,
I was like, to me, that was porn.
most of my knowledge of all of this was via the computer. It was Googling
That's true.
things out of curiosity,
Yes.
and it was making my crushes into Sims characters and having them.
Yes,
whatever.
your uncle didn't bring you into a pleasure house to show you what sex was.
I don't think so.
I could have blocked that out.
I have a very bad memory.
Yes.
People are playing music. Someone shoves at her and says, "Fuck off, boy." She's like, "He called me boy."
Like that.
And we keep cutting back to this shot of this metallic dragon shooting flames. It's like every third shot. I was like, why do they keep showing the same thing?
I think they forgot to get other they forgot to get other B-roll.
You are the director. You know, I'm more of a comedy writer. Catherine is the auteur director. She has the eye for these things. So you're my go-to.
I've edited enough to know when I've been like, shit, I needed one more B-roll shot. So like, oh, dragon again.
Yeah, this is so like X-rated Princess Jasmine, like seeing poor people for the first time.
Yes.
And there's a man on wire. He's got a flaming stick too. She's drinking Damon's flask. A lady with no eyes says, "Do you wish to know your death, child?" And she kind of laughs.
Yeah. And then we also cut back to the king then we go to the king in the bath. Is that after this is?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're cut into the king in the bath with his skin ailment that we keep referencing in every episode.
His skin ailment seems to be spreading. All these nurses are like tending to his disgusting sores.
Yes, very gross. His wife takes over like a good, dutiful wife. Is this the thing? Is this the thing in Game of Thrones with the grayscale? Is this what this is?
I was wondering that, but it doesn't look the same as the grayscale thing. But it's kind of following a similar pattern. So maybe, or maybe this is like the ancestor of grayscale.
Oh yeah, like the first, like in terms of viruses, like the virus didn't mutate, it mutates a bunch.
He's patient 0.
Yeah.
He got it. I mean, honestly, if all those swords are from battles, and they don't have like antibiotics or like cleaning stuff,
crazy.
Like, I also think it's so funny how we refer to it as like, we assume it's like the medieval past, and it's like, this isn't even a real, this isn't even planet Earth.
I know. It's like our only reference to it. Yes, I was thinking that too. Also, it's crazy to me that anyone lived beyond the age of 20 in the olden times. In this, if we're talking middle age or whatever this is, so much was against you. You could die from anything. And so if you lived, good for you. Honestly,
I certainly never would have had sex. Very dangerous.
No. Oh my God. You're getting syphilis. One case of syphilis. You dead.
But I guess, like you were saying last episode, it's still fucking relevant.
It's still relevant.
Forced births, unfortunately, are not the thing of fantasy.
It's not. It's not.
Anyway, we cut back to a theater, an outdoor theater that Damon and Rhaenyra are checking out the local culture. And this actor with these wild eyebrows and facial hair points to this model of the Iron Throne. And they act out the succession. Our good king names his daughter a girl, and people are booing. And then the actor's like, but then he marries Alicent, and Alicent gives birth to a baby boy. And we see them giving birth. And they're like, who's going to be the heir? The brother, the daughter, or the princeling of 3 years old? Again, they laugh at the age of the baby.
Yeah.
How crazy.
Poor baby.
And a woman representing Rhaenyra, a man representing a woman representing Rhaenyra sits on the throne and says, would she make a powerful queen or be feeble? And people are yelling, feeble. And he says...
also, don't forget the fart noise, the fart joke.
There was a fart joke?
There was a fart joke. Yeah.
What was it?
The actor like sits down and then she like makes a face and then it cuts to a guy when he's like blowing a horn. It makes like a fart noise. Which I thought was very clever, a bit of special effects for a play with, no resources.
They were very resourceful.
It was very resourceful.
In this next thing, they're like, baby Aegon has 2 things Rhaenyra cannot. A conqueror's name and a cock. And they pull out this fake dick from the large baby Aegon made of rope.
Yes, I like.
And then Rhaenyra... Rhaenyra, you don't read the comments. You can't read your comments. She's like, slander, boo.
She's commenting on her own post from a burner account in that moment.
Exactly. I was like, this is me writing my own review of our podcast on Apple Podcasts.
Yes. Be like, no,
by the
you're
way,
wrong.
If you haven't left a review for us, please do. That helps people find the podcast.
It does. So Rhaenyra walks away and is like, well, what the fuck? Who cares what they think? And Daemon is like, it kind of does, because you're going to rule them one day. And and at this point, Rhaenyra learns what capitalism is. She tries to take something from a guy because she's used to just taking things, and Damon's like, "Oh, you have to pay for that." And then another Aladdin moment, she runs away. She takes the bread or whatever it was, runs away like Aladdin.
And he calls her
so this
street
is
rat.
Aladdin. And he calls her street rat. This is the person who was writing. George R. R. Martin had Aladdin on in the background when he was writing this.
Absolutely.
And that's fine.
They were like, what's everyone's favorite movie? Aladdin. I'll just make it
Aladdin.
like that.
It is, yeah.
Damon's like, I'm going to find him and take the money back, give the money back for the food. But I don't think that happens. Mm-mm. We cut back to the royal castle. Alicent is sadly making tea, drinking it. We cut back to Rhaenyra running through the street through a bunch of people with these triangle hats. Daemon is chasing her. Rhaenyra, I wrote here, Rhaenyra is pulling a Marissa Cooper from the OC here. She's had everything handed to her, and now she's getting off on shoplifting.
Yes. Yep.
And getting drunk.
I love that. And getting drunk. Yep.
And a knight stops Rhaenyra, and it is Ser Harwin. He is the guy who eyed Rhaenyra when she was all bloody.
Mm-hmm, the hottie with the body.
Is he going to turn her in? No, but he says, maybe next time you won't be so lucky. And now Rhaenyra and Daemon are holding hands.
Mm-hmm.
Do you hold hands with your uncle?
No. In fact, gross. And the beginning of it. So we cut back to Alicent in bed, and it seems like she's been summoned for sex by a maid with a dumb hat on. And I didn't realize that that's what she was being summoned for, but I guess I should have when she was like, the king has requested your presence. And Alicent's like, it's late. And the maid is like, yep, it's late. And then,
There's a lot of meetings that are not at the right time in this episode.
No.
I noted. We cut back and forth between a scene in the town where these naked, tattooed people are dancing and people are playing drums. Rhaenyra is continuing to drink and watch all the sexy people. And then we cut back to the vision of marriage that has been presented. The king banging a limp starfishing Alicent. Mm-hmm. And this was my cringiest moment of the week. Alicent is looking up. She appears to be dissociating. It reminded me of that scene in Amelie when she's like first having sex and it's just like not there.
This was also my cringiest moment of the week. I honestly was really tempted to press the whatever, forward 15 seconds. I was like, I can't see. I was like, oh, especially because it's like, he's so old and she's so young, but you really tried hard not to think about them having sex. And then the show is like, nope, here, look at it.
Look at it.
Which is helpful.
And he has big sores on his back.
Yeah, he's big sores and he's
and like, can that spread? No one knows.
Good point. And then we cut back to Rhaenyra, and and Daemon walk into a pleasure house, and he takes off her disguise. He takes off her hat.
Why?
Which, honestly, it makes sense now. But
why?
I think all part of his evil. I think he wanted her to be recognized. I think this was part of his evil plan.
Oh my God.
I think he was like, oh no. And he was like
I did not think of that.
Oh my gods. And he was like, oh, well, I'm just being playful, taking your hat off. And and I think this is all part of it. And so we have lots of shots of people having sex and dicks and boobs and just general sexiness. And Rhaenyra is taking it all in. There are also some shots of, there were some shots of the people being like, who's that? This person looking in.
Exactly. I'm like, I guess I did not. God, I guess I got tricked by Daemon also. Cause I was like, I don't know why he thinks like this is the trustworthy place. Like, oh, when you're in the pillow house, everyone knows you don't tell people. What you see.
It's
Everyone knows what happens in the pillow house stays in the pillow house.
That's so
I thought
funny.
was his attitude at this point.
He's like, yeah, it's like free love, baby. Free love and hidden identities. And then she asks, oh, this was very funny to me. Well, no, I maybe it should be funny, but she asks, what is this place? Like after like 5 minutes of walking into it. And I guess she just doesn't know, maybe again, she just doesn't know what a pleasure house is. Like it just seemed silly to me. Oh, wait, I'm going to say what my horniest moment of the week is, I'm going to do a switcheroo on everyone. It's not the moments you think it is. For me, because of my personal preference, was when she walks in, there's a shot of a guy just going to his knees on this other guy. And that was my horniest moment of the week. It's a 2-second shot, and I was like, hell yeah. It is
I
something
love
I do love that. And then we also get a lot of sexy groping and threesomes, and she's looking around at, oh wait, as she's looking around, Damon is getting closer, and she's probably feeling all these feelings and stimulus, and he's like, oh, this is what pleasure is, and fucking is a pleasure, you see, and for women as it is, women can have pleasure too, and he's getting closer, and she looks like a kid to me in this scene, which I don't love. And he kisses her, and they kiss, and it intercuts. The kissing is intercutting with Allison disassociating, and Rhaenyra is experiencing her first sexual feelings, and with her uncle, because it's a Game of Thrones franchise.
Uncle.
Which honestly, I wasn't even that. We've all watched Game of Thrones, and after seeing the Lannisters for so many seasons, this doesn't faze me as much as it did. And I'm like, they're not even brother and sister.
Absolutely not. I was thinking, and I was like, what was the horniest moment of Game of Thrones? And I was like, I feel like it was when we saw Cersei and Jaime banging on the coffin of their dead child.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
And then I was like, wait, maybe that wasn't consensual. Maybe that can't be the horniest moment.
From what I remember, I think it was. But yeah, that was hot. That was, yeah. Everything. They were always hot together.
Damon untying Rhaenyra's shirt while making out and describing how marriage is a duty, but that doesn't stop us from doing what we want. This is duty banging versus pleasure banging was my horniest moment of the week. They're in what we later refer to as the bowels of the Pillow House. There is a full-on orgy happening here. And she is about to hook up with her uncle. I mean, this is the horniest thing that I feel like the show has done all season.
It was very horny. It was really, really hot. And especially because he's Doctor Who. This is just, certain listeners out there will get what I'm saying. Mm-hmm. Yes, and then she does... The moment at the end of this confused me because I thought I had to rewind it because I was like, did she hit him? Or like, because there was that like when he stops it, it's like does he hit the wall?
I thought it was him stopping himself and running away.
Got it. Okay, that makes sense. That's what I think.
This is my niece, maybe. Mm-hmm. Or he's just gotten all the footage he needs. This child spy sees Rhaenyra run up the stairs and follows her.
Yes. Other question. They weren't actually fucking, right?
I think she had her clothes off.
Okay, she had her, I couldn't tell if there was like, if he put it in.
She had her pants off or something.
Yeah.
No, they didn't bang.
He didn't, okay. That's what I thought. Because that she saves for later. So now that Rhaenyra runs off, now that she knows what sex is, she wastes, this is why I do love this about Rhaenyra. She wastes no time. She's like, wait a minute. I just found out what sex was. I really like Christo. He's right outside my door. Yes.
Damon is just the fluffer.
Yes, he's just the fluffer. And
by the way, we cut back to Alicent's perspective after the royal plowing, and she sees a rat at the canopy of her bed. And I didn't even notice that. This metaphor. Like, there's a rat spying on her, having this dirty sex with the king. Good. There's a child rat spying on Rhaenyra, hooking up with Damon. And the sex is
Oh my
just as
God.
dirty, even though it's up higher in this nice bed, you would think.
Lizzie, that's amazing. I feel like if the writer was listening to what you just said right now, which I'm sure they are, I feel like they would be like, she got it.
She got
Do you
it.
know what I mean?
She got
Yes,
it. The
because
theme of this episode
she
is
got my
street rat.
brilliance. Yes. I love that. No, that's amazing. So Rhaenyra takes his helmet like a girl at a party who takes the hat from a guy she likes, which we've all been there. And then she starts taking off his armor, and it's very slow, and he is really struggling with this. And then at a certain moment, he kisses her, and it's very hot. And
Notably not our horniest moment, but
notably
good
not
try.
on this moment, but
The
it was
actual-
very hot.
Look, I hate to be the cog in the wheel, but this had like a little bit like. Are you watching Industry?
No, I haven't seen it.
Oh, there is a plot point where basically a boss ends up locking his subordinate in a room without consent, and she kind of has a panic attack. And I was like, this had like, when she locks him in, I'm like, she is his boss. There was just something uncomfortable about that for me, besides the fact that she's
Wow.
like, yeah.
Lizzie, I didn't even think about that, which makes me feel bad, but you're right. This
I'm
is a
so
total
sorry.
power. No, this is a total power. You're completely right. This is kind of weird. This is not great. This is the power imbalance for sure. Like if
Yeah.
he does seem into it, but also that's not like, it doesn't matter. Like it is kind of coerced. Yeah.
Yeah, no, he's definitely like, seems like he's into it.
Yeah.
I am like, I don't know if I would be banging my lone bodyguard when
Yeah.
you're the next in line for the throne. Like maybe get a backup like person to stand there. I don't know.
That's a very good point. Let's think about safety. Thank you, Lizzie. Not enough people think about safety in this show.
Am I saying enough like catastrophizing anxiety thoughts for this? He carries her to the bed. She loves it. They do a ton of positions. She has clearly picked up a lot in the bowels of the pillow house.
I was gonna say she goes on top, which is great. She's having a lot of fun.
Seems to be a good
yes.
experience.
Seems to be fun. They have a great time. Again, to me, she looks very young, so it made me a little uncomfortable seeing her face.
There was a
but,
time jump, Catherine.
There was a time there.
She is an older minor.
She's
a
an
cusp.
older minor. I know the actress is 22. Very sexy. We then cut to, once I saw the hand of the motherfucking king walk in, I knew that shit's about to go down. We see the little boy, of course, come in, and we know what's about to happen. We then cut to Damon in his mistress's bedroom.
Straw floor? I don't know.
I'm assuming this is like this is her place, and I guess he crashed there. He like went to her after he went to Rhaenyra. I'm assuming.
I think this is like her room because she's like, you can pay for the room later. I don't know.
Oh yeah.
But she's like, I'm your protector, tries to give him this hangover drink. He refuses it, calls her a common whore. She's like, I'm not common. And we get this scene where the Hand gets this news from the street rat. He goes to the king's chambers, says, I'm really sorry to tell you this news, but I thought it should come from me. Basically, your daughter banged Damon in the pleasure house in front of a lot of people.
I like that the king is like, no, say it. The king is like, say it. Say what she did. Yes, but I do like that the king was, I liked the king more in the moment being like, I don't know, he surprises me sometimes with like, sometimes I'm like, maybe he's so unaware, but this made me be like, yeah, he is kind of aware, and I think he can sense the Hand's like creepy, and what's it called, underhandedness, but obviously not until the end. Not until the end do we get, Rhaenyra really saying it. But yeah, I like that he's like, no, say it. Like, you have tell me exactly the words. And yeah, he doesn't make it easy for him, which I like. But it's all very uncomfortable. Allison is listening. Also, I will have to say, every time I'm reminded of the king's big replica of the city or something that he's, I'm like, this is just a
Toy.
very,
His
this is
Legos.
like in The Sopranos.
That is
with the
exactly
train.
what I was thinking of. The guy who with the train set and he's got
With
the
the
little
train
conductor hat. What's his
Yeah.
name? I love
Is it
that
Bobby?
guy. Bobby,
Bobby?
yes.
Bobby.
Bobby
Oh
from
my God.
Sopranos in the little conductor hat playing with his trains.
So funny. Yeah, this is what I always think about it because I'm like, this is silly. I was like, but it's nice. I'm sure it's a good hobby to have. Also, what else were you doing back then? I guess ruling a country, but there's no hobbies. There's no TV. This always, I think I say every episode, look, there's no TV. What else are you
Look,
gonna do?
I mean, kill yourself. Like what?
Just kill yourself. No TikTok. You're so bored.
Look at what they do without TV. Horrible.
Exactly. Horrible.
Watch
So
it on your
Allison,
computer
yes.
instead of doing it.
Yes. Watch it on your computer.
Oh,
We have
I love Bobby. When
I love
Bobby
Bobby
marries
too.
The sister, what's her face?
So-
Janice.
Oh my God.
Ugh,
That was
I
a perfect
love
move.
Janice.
That was such good writing. That was such a good idea. I was like, that pairing is so chef's kiss.
The first time I watched
loved it.
Sopranos, I hated Janice, and then I was like, she's so annoying. And then the second time, I was like, oh my God, she's incredible.
She is incredible. What is it? He
watch
has
The
a line. He's like,
Sopranos.
yeah.
Anyway.
Watch The Sopranos. Watch The Sopranos. We honestly, that's an HBO show.
I know.
Just saying. I mean, pretty.
Sound off in
anyway.
the comments what you want our next HBO show to be.
Yes.
Oh, but he basically was like, wait, you had spies on me.
Mm-hmm.
Are you sick with ambition that you're spying on my whore daughter? Get out. And Rhaenyra's in her chambers. Kriston comes in, message from the queen. Allison and Rhaenyra meet at their tree, and Allison is like, hey, I was spying on my husband, your dad, who I'm still banging. And he says that you were banging your uncle. And she's like, what? No. I went out and we saw a show. It was just an orgy dance recital.
It was a show. Yes. Yeah. So this scene, very interesting to me. So yes. So Alicent is being like, you're lying. I heard what you did. My father has reliable sources. You fucked Damon in the pleasure house. And then at first, Rhaenyra immediately is like, no, 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 no. Oh my gosh, I would never, don't ever think that. And then, which I was surprised because I feel like we very rarely see Rhaenyra in that position of weakness where she's like, no, I didn't. Oh, I would never. So this was an interesting Rhaenyra character moment of the week. Rhaenyra, interesting character moment of the week. And then, but then right away she goes to, you question my virtue. That's an act of treason. She goes into defensive mode, which makes sense to pivot into. And, then she says, we drink wine in the tavern.
And Allison believes her. She's like, well, it was foolish to put yourself in
Yes.
this situation. You shouldn't have been wearing that outfit in that
Victim blaming.
space.
Mm-hmm.
And then
Women
we cut
not
to
helping
outside the
women.
castle grounds, and Damon is wandering in, perhaps still drunk. And then the knights grab him. The king wants an audience, and the two knights throw him on the floor where he was just this episode walking arm in arm with his big bro. And now he's on the floor. And Viserys is like, you defiled Rhaenyra. And he's like, why does it matter? We banged our way through all the brothels on the Street of Silk. And are we going to see the Street of Silk? Where's that? Is that Magic City?
Lizzie's like, forget this show. Let's go. Let's cut to.
I am distracted by this magical land. Viserys is like, we were young, and plus we had penises. And Damon's like, well, it's better me than some whore. And Viserys says, you ruined her. Who's going to marry her in this condition?
And
And this is, for me, my misogyny moment of the week.
Yep. I think mine comes a little later, but yes. So this was the scene that made it obviously. Oh okay, so we know Damon's pretty cunning and clever, but this was a very cunning and clever plan. Like he purposely, because at first I was like, oh, I don't know. The naive part of me was like, oh, he kind of likes her, and he's like
me.
showing her. I know,
so
but now, no, same. And in the scene, I was like, oh, he did all of it on purpose. He planted it to be like, now she's trapped into marrying me. If I like have sex with her and I'm the one who defiles her or whatever, then like she has to marry me and then I get to be king. So I thought this was very smart. This was my smart plan by Damon. I know. Now I'm just having fun. Now I'm like, but
this
yeah.
Is business.
So
be
this is
serious.
business. Be serious. So yeah, I thought this really was a very clever plan by Damon.
And then he has a very relatable moment at the end of the scene. Viserys banishes him. Go back to the Vale, to your lawful wife, and try to restore your honor. Just, I don't want to see you. And Damon's like, as you wish, bro. And then he's lying on his back, and he just like kind of turns to like get more comfortable lying on the floor, like he's gonna take a nap. And I was like, this is so relatable. Just like things have already gone to shit. I might as well take a nap.
That's so funny. I didn't even notice that. That is so funny. Just get a little more comfortable. Viserys is looking out the window because, again, what else do you do when you're trying to think? You have to look out a window. And there's nothing else to do. You can't, like, clear your mind any other way. So Alicent comes and is like, I believe Rhaenyra. It's not in her nature to be deceitful, which I thought was interesting. She swore to me that she's maiden, and I believe her. So we're like, okay, she's not a maiden, but that's fine. She's lying to her friend. Rhaenyra is fine lying to her friends, which I think we should put in our little brains.
Yeah.
She is totally fine lying to her friends and lying to people. She
swore on her mother's memory.
Exactly. They're not making her the woman who is good. Like Daenerys, I feel like, okay, I keep doing these comparisons, but it makes sense. But Daenerys was like, we were like, oh, Daenerys is amazing, this badass woman boss bitch. But also because she like is very moral in these certain ways. She's freeing slaves. But I like that we're seeing that Rhaenyra is more complicated than her, and honestly is like is maybe as complicated as Daemon, and could be as cunning and clever. And so I think our instinct is to be like,
compares them here. He says they both have dragon blood, and you know what that means. They love chaos and fucking. And Allison's like, well, she swore she remains a maiden, so I believe her. Rhaenyra is walking the halls with knights. She goes into her father's chambers. And there's like a little fire in his Lego construction thing. And the fire is holding a sword. And Viserys tells her the story about the sword. Aegon the Conqueror had this. And then someone else. And then lost to time. And he pulls out the sword. And they say, oh, they hid Aegon's song in this steel. What does that mean?
I don't know, Lizzie. I was going to ask you. I watched this part twice because I was like, okay, so it's in.
Yeah,
it's the Song of Ice and Fire.
Someone had it, and another. I mean, yeah, that part feels like a paragraph in a book. And Viserys gives it, and he says, "From my blood come the prince that was promised, and his will be the Song of Ice and Fire." And Viserys is like, I give you this responsibility. This secret is bigger than the throne, and the king is larger than you and your desires. Jaehaerys would have disinherited you. She's like, you haven't even asked me the truth. And he says, the truth doesn't matter, only perception.
And then she hits him with the, if I was born a man, were I born a man, I could bed with whoever I want. I could father a dozen bastards, and no one in your court would blink an eye. And he says, you were right, but you were born a woman. And that is my misogynist moment of the week. And
you know what? You're right. I changed mine. That was my misogynist moment of the week. I forgot about this one.
No, I mean, both are very misogynist, similar points, but I like that he's straight. It's kind of like in this time period or this fantasy place that's based on a time period, I guess. They're straight up, it's this thing, they're straight up about their sexism. Like now they would be like, guys are like, no, I'm not sexist. It's just for different reasons. Like,
yeah, it's not
you're more
'cause
maternal.
You told me you wanted to have kids.
Yes.
It's for another reason.
Yes, exactly.
He says you're a woman. She's like, what are you going to do? Strip me of my titles and name Aegon? He's like, I would, but we need to hold the realm together. But your courtship is at an end. You will marry Laenor Valyrian without protest. And she's like, the son of the sea snake to remedy your political headaches? And he says, you are my political headache. I thought that was like the best line of the episode.
Yeah, I like that. I was like, that's
that.
fair. Yeah. I have sympathy for Viserys. I do. I know it's about, but he is in a situation where, yes, the thing everyone does is marry for political reasons. And it's just kind of what happens. And I'm just saying it's a political thing at the time that is just very necessary. And I don't know, what else is he supposed to do? He's supposed to be like, you're right, we're going to have a feminist society now. You can marry whoever you want for love and you get to, it's just unrealistic. And so I feel
that's
for
royalty,
him.
baby.
And I feel that's royalty, baby. I feel for him in a way because it's just, yeah. Anyway, so she surprises me and she's like, okay. She's like, fine, but on the condition that you fucking take your head out of your ass about your freaking hand of the king because clearly you're being played. And he was like, and he is embarrassed. He's like, and has a great scene with the hand of the king.
Yeah, one of the last scenes, Otto enters the council room and Viserys says, 5 days, ominously. And he's like, huh? And he's like, my dad was a dragon rider and he was really hot. And Jaehaerys named a hunt to celebrate him being the name of the king. 5 days later, my dad is dead. There are tournaments that have lasted longer. Balon the Brave, doubt of a burst belly. The gods have a dark wit. And Otto's like, yeah, grim day. And Viserys is like, but a good day for you. Jaehaerys named you the hand instead. And Otto's like, oh, I didn't see that way. It was duty. You know me. All about the hot D, duty. And Viserys is like, you served my granddad nobly in the final days, taught me to be king. You went from being a rando to the second most powerful man in the realm. How long did it take to choose yourself over the king? I will never recover from Rhaenyra's mom's death. Alicent took me through the worst of my grief, but now I realize she was a calculated distraction. And I only realize now how well calculated it was. Ooh, Viserys' eyes are open. Otto's like, absurd. She loves you. She's starfishing out of love. Viserys says your interests no longer align with the realm. Your judgment is compromised. And Otto's like, a loyal hand has to tell his king discomforting truths from time to time. If he doesn't, he's failed as a servant. Viserys, you were a faithful servant. And now he rips the hand sign off of his coat. The crown and the realm owe you a debt, but I can no longer trust your judgment. Dang, I was surprised by this.
I was really surprised. Well, this is what separates George R. R. Martin and Game of Thrones in its like from other series, I think. Because I think in a normal series, this moment would happen episode 9. And I think they just get right to they just are like, nope. I like that they don't help us. We can't suspend our disbelief for so long because the king is clearly not a dumb idiot. He clearly has a brain. He clearly he's not like sharp. I don't think he's as smart as Rhaenyra, but once things are pointed out to him, he's gonna do something about it. And so I think
once they're really laid out and there's like a lot of evidence, he'll take action.
By his daughter, yes. I think this was one of my favorite scenes in the episode.
I completely agree. I was on Twitter and I saw these shots that were it was Alicent preparing for her wedding. and she looked like gorgeous, and she had this like crown on, and I was like, they cut this scene. Like, they have so much material to get to that they're cutting out a royal wedding
Oh,
that they have
wow.
already shot.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
That's really wild. I
I'm
wanna see
amazed
that,
by
yeah.
how quickly they go through plot.
Yes, I really like it. And honestly, I think that is a very 2010s thing to do. I think now we're at this point in, I don't know, in TV, and especially I think Shonda Rhimes kind of like kicked everyone's ass when it was like, oh, plot? I'm going to do the most plot in the least amount of time, and it's going to be wildly successful because no one has attention spans anymore.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've been thinking about it since, and I'm like, why did they do that? And I do think part of it might be that we see there might be a royal wedding coming up, and maybe they wanted to take, not take away from the pageantry of that. But we get the last scene after Otto is sad in Rhaenyra's room. The bald man, what's this dude's
I know,
name?
I don't know his name, but he gives like the alchemy stuff.
I don't know. He's probably
I don't
either
know.
the Master of Laws or Coin or Lord of Honeyhold. I don't know.
she
One of
say
the
his
small
name?
council
Okay.
members
Anyway.
comes in, and he's like, sorry it's late. No one's having normal meeting time this episode. And he says,
Sure.
this needed to be brewed properly. It's tea from the king to get rid of any unwanted consequences.
He
And our
gives her plan B.
Our last shot is Rhaenyra looking at her abortion tea,
Yes.
pondering. And you know she's
Yep.
going to drink it
Yeah, because
because they didn't have
this
condoms back then in this
exactly,
fantastical
and
world.
this fantasy kingdom is who that doesn't like women is more into women's rights than America is, so that's cool. This like, but yeah, so
Sad.
that is sad. Yeah,
We get the promo for the next episode, the royal wedding. Some Viserys is like, it'll be the second age of dragons. And they're like, Rhaenyra's succession will be challenged when the king dies. People are fighting. If Rhaenyra succeeds, war will follow. Otto telling Alicent to prepare Aegon to rule. How old is Aegon at this point? 3?
Maybe
Are we
he's
doing
three.
another time jump?
I would love another time jump, and I hope they say it a lot. Wow. Well, I really liked this episode.
Me too.
I think this was my favorite one so far. I liked last week a
agree.
lot, but yeah.
Definitely the sexiest.
Definitely the sexiest.
And the most like
yes.
Aladdin.
It yeah. I rank the episodes based on how like Aladdin they are, like most things. Yeah. And I liked everything we learned about Rhaenyra and Daemon. Honestly, I really am interested in their dynamic because I do think they're very intrigued by each other. I do think there is some care for each other deep down that I think is what is keeping me interested. Because if anything is just pure hatred or just wanting to use people, it's not interesting. But what's keeping it interesting for me is like I think they like each other because they're alike. If that makes sense.
I agree. And he was interested in her before she was named heir.
That's true. That's true.
I don't know.
But
This is just
but I'm excited.
I am very tricked easily. What do you call that? Gullible?
No, me too.
I'm very gullible.
No, me too. But I'm trying to. I'm trying to be like, no, but you're so good. Also, like you get every metaphor. You get every little plot thing happening. You're great. You're great.
I wrote
And
down
thank you for-
every
yes.
single thing that happened in this episode.
I
And my
love
guesses
it.
at what the characters were. Bald member of council has the abortion tea.
That's all you need to know. But
Yeah.
thank you for listening to our recap of House of the Dragon episode 4. We will be back
thank
next
you
week.
to everyone for
Yes.
also rating us wherever you are
Yes.
listening to the podcast. Those reviews and ratings help everyone find it. And we will be back next week for episode 5. I guess the royal wedding is already happening. Can't wait.
Yes. Thanks for watching Fire and Blood.
And peace and love.
Bye.
Bye.